Good evening all and welcome back to GPVWC's Formula Challenge. We've had the summer break and we are back for the 13th round of the season. An exciting championship that we have in prospect and a dry qualifying session and a dry race we look forward to. For this, it is myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside Mr. James Kirk, with Quinton playing on cameras. Now, James, I don't recall the last time we commentated. Oh, actually, no, the last time we commentated on Formula Challenge would have been back in Korea in 2013. So this will be exciting.
Did, yeah. Oh, for sure. I've been giving a little eye on the Formula Challenge this year, and I must say that the stars of the show, if you haven't been watching the previous half of the year before the summer break, James Johnson, Stefan Ruel, they have just been such dominant forces this year, and it's no surprise to see Stefan Ruel take pole position once again here today. And I think looking in these last, 5, 6 or so rounds, it's going to take a monumental effort to try and overtake not just one of them, but both of them as well. And we're hearing that JJ as well is supposedly missing a round as well. So the pendulum is very much swinging in the way of Stefan in terms of the Drivers' Championship could end up with at the end of the year.
Yeah, of course, 63 points is what's separating him at the top of the standings. But as you say, JJ is supposed to be missing the next round, which is in Suzuka. He's on holiday or something, life. But to be fair to the gap, what this will do is this will even it out because Ruel has also missed a round at the start of the year. Either way, we are going to get through into the race and we'll get to your race predictions once we've gone through the old formation lap, and hopefully this is going to be an exciting race. We all know what Monza is like for racing quality. You can get some very good racing, you can get some not so good stuff down into T1, but I'm expecting this to be quite a good race. And from pole position, once again, it will be Stefan Ruel who will lead away the field from Johan Lindberg, who's having that mid-season form really getting on top of him. Obviously, that win back in Germany, which has catapulted him towards the front of the field. Matthew Chergwin, an excellent qualifying position, up in third. Then it's Mitchell de Jong and Mike Quint. Cameron Brewster in sixth. So it's looking really good for Fanatec Drake up in third and sixth position. And your championship leader down in seventh. But what can he do from there? He's a very good racer is James Johnson. I'd expect to see him come through the field. Terence Grech, one of his better qualifying sessions from this side of the year. Of course, doing well earlier on in the year. Not so well in recent form. Has done bits. He is actually in fourth in the championship with that win that he had back in Germany, but did retire the previous race we had. And it's Jeffrey Fournier, our first winner of the season, in ninth position. Hansko Mebius in 10th. Maciek Mlinek, apologies.
Yeah.
In 11th. Don't even, mate. Don't even. Philippakos in 12th. Ranjan Kumar in 13th. Edouard Batala in 14th. And then it's Michael Bernard to round out the points in 15th. Timu Cabrera in 16th. Max Melamed in 17th. Mike Schroten.
Yeah.
Mike Schroten in 18th. He's racing under Roy's name for reasons of R52, but that's already been sorted out. Don't worry about that. Then it's Rob Mason down in 19th. He's hoping that he can race a bit higher than that because that's not indicative of his pace. It's Mark Hutchinson, Bruno Sousa Ferreira, Andreas Pestovs in 22nd, Brett Metcalf in 23rd, Mantas Povolaitis in 24th, and Gerrit de Vries rounding out the field for Backmarker Brigade.
Yeah, don't worry. I probably would have got that name wrong as well, to be very fair. I think the main thing that we're all hoping for is, as long as it's not a Liuzzi into turn one, crashing into everyone, that's fine. But in terms of my race prediction, I think it's very difficult to see past Ruel. I know it's it's a challenge to come back from the summer break and sort of pick up incredibly good form that you'd left what's over a month behind now. But I think he's one of the strongest contenders in this field. I mean, it's the amount of race wins, the amount of pole positions he's taken. This guy knows how to drive. He knows how to control a race. And I think he's going to do it again here today.
Yeah, Philippakos is actually going to start from the pit lane for an unknown reason. But I agree with you on the Ruel thing. But to not pick the same man as you, I'm going to go with James Johnson. We've had hints from people like Menno Klont who have suggested that people that haven't taken their first win yet this season will likely do it this round. But yes, I would put my money at this moment on James Johnson to take that win. But the final car is going to head into its position, and we are going to get ready to go racing as the lights come on ahead of the drivers here at Monza. And we are racing. And Stefan Ruol, Johan Lindberg have both had a good start. I think it's a little bit better from Lindberg as Ruol is going to cover that off going down into T1. He's covered it off nicely. Lindberg will look back to the outside as there's a lot of racing going on towards the back of the field. And it's side by side through T1. Stefan Ruol is going to lead them through this complex of corners from Johan Lindberg from Churgwin as James Johnson's actually up into 5th position. Who's that dropping down the order? Oh, there's a big crash between the Estev's cars.
Yeah, I tell you what, apart from a couple of instances there, that was really clean. But there was the normal Constantinering, Gret caught out, the two Estev cars colliding with each other, flying up in the air. It's a shame for those lot, but all clean otherwise.
Yeah, sorry, we just had side-by-side. It was Quint and Churgwin through the De La Roger chicane. Now James Johnson's looking on the inside of Quint into the first Lesmo corner, but no action going there. 4th and 5th place, so James Johnson is trying to carve his way through this field. What this is currently doing, though, is letting Stefan Ruol trying to make that gap. He's dragging Johan Lindberg with him, but Churgwin is dropping just off the back of the top two here, which is going to be important for that draw. But here we go. James Johnson and Mike Quint side-by-side coming down into Ascari. James Johnson on the inside. He's going for it. Oh, there's not much room left, and Mike Quint is going to hold that. That is an excellent move from Quint.
That's a really nice driving, and especially early on in these laps. I mean, you know that JJ, he wants to get up the front. He wants to be on par with Ruol. It looks like he's got a nice slipstream down here, though, towards the Parabolica. We'll see whether he has a little dive up the inside on Quint. He's got the position, surely. That's a really nice move, nice and persistent from JJ.
That was really nice. Yeah, good little bit of defence there from Quint, but he is coming under attack from Cameron Brewster, who had that really good form towards the start of the season, dropped up a lot through the latter section, but he's now trying to pick that back up again. Him and his teammate Matthew Churgwin up in some good positions at the moment, 3rd and 6th, the same positions they've started with, but Cameron Brewster is trying to make that P5 as he breaks very late down into T1, but doesn't quite make it stick. He's going to go for the cutback here, exiting the chicane, but it's not going to work for him.
Yeah, just looking further back down the grid, Fournier and Mebius, they both gained a couple of positions on that first lap, as has Maisei Mayan,
yeah.
I think. We'll try with that one. Also, someone who's had a great starter, by the way. Mike Schroden started all the way down in 18, already up into the points in 13, but there is a right gaggle of cars here, pretty much beginning here with Max Melamed and Michael Barnard. It's basically 11th down to 17th, all within the space of a couple of seconds, so they're going to be scrapping away there, whilst the guys up top are in a little bit of a closer scrap here between Mike Quint, and I think that's going down all the way to Mlinek at the moment. Yeah,
Cameron Brewster is under attack a lot now from Jeffrey Fournier. Of course, these two, I'm pretty sure they've done a bit of racing fairly recently within the GPVWC ITC Championship that started last week. They're side-by-side now into Ascari. Jeffrey Fournier is going to try and make the move stick around the outside. He's not going to quite do it. They're both giving each other an awful lot of room there, and Cameron Brewster is going to keep his 6th position for now. But Mlinek is going to be looking down to Parabolica on Jeffrey Fournier.
Yeah, he disposed of Mebius at Lesmo 2 after Mebius got it all wrong out the corner, and I think he's going to be run out of a little bit of room. Yeah, not really enough of a chance there to get the overtake done, and Mebius, bit of an opportunistic look up the inside of Mlinek there as well. Great racing, though, to be fair, between these four and the rest of the field so far. Lots of respect given. That's exactly what we want to see.
This is what we want to see. This is what we want to see on the return of Formula Challenge, the return of the career ladder, showing some of the guys how it's done for the races later on this week. But Mlinek on the inside down into T1. Is he going to make it stick? There is. There he goes. Makes it stick. Mlinek up into 7th position.
Yeah, the Poles have been a really nice race so far, and Brewster's not too far down the road either. So if he can keep this momentum going, if he can keep jumping up into the slipstreams of others, yeah, he could be looking for a pretty solid position at the end of this race. Just looking to Mebius as well. He's looking to defend off Mitchell de Jong, actually. The Dutchman's just caught up onto the back of this little squad.
De Jong's gone off.
Although he goes a little bit wide, yeah, and I noticed behind, is that Barnard and Melamed going into battle? Yes, it is. Melamed diving down the inside of Lesmo 1. I think Barnard gave Melamed a bit too much room, and well, that was a good save, mind you, from Melamed. Barnard, slight bit of contact there. Gave him all the room in the world as well to try and make the manoeuvre. Couldn't keep it on the track, though, so Bernard stays in 11th.
Indeed, indeed. Melamed, obviously, his return to the series The last round he did was actually all the way back in Canada. So him making that return for Scuderia Basilia, replacing David Yunt, hopefully things are going to be going well for him. He's in 12th position at the moment, but we're looking to move his way up the order. Speaking of moving way up the order, James Johnson in P3 is going to be moving his way around the outside of Matthew Churgwin through the Parabolica. And he is now up into 3rd position, looking at that lead too. But Churgwin is definitely going to be coming back at him here.
Yeah, he's tucked up into Suchin. Comes out a little bit early, but it seems like he's got a nice bit of overlap. He's on the inside as well. Some defenders would say that the outside is the best place to be. Although that said, Matthew Churgwin breaks very late there and takes the position right back. Johnson, though, he's persistent, just like always. Tries to get the cut back once again. Not going to do it, though, as we enter the Parabolica. Further down, by the way, looks like Mlinek has fallen back behind Hansko Mebius. He's down to P9.
Indeed, these two are going to go side by side up through Curva Grande. Not quite side by side, but James Johnson's just trying to get that front wing along. He is going to dive into the De La Rocha chicane. That's a nice little move there from James Johnson.
God, his brakes must be absolutely linked up, because I thought he was going to go straight over the curbing, to be honest, but he got stopped in time. Had a good exit as well, and there was no response from Churgwin that time.
Absolutely. That was a good little move, but we'll see what Churgwin can do. We know he's got a good pace. He obviously qualified in 3rd position, but this battling between the two of them is actually holding Johnson up and Churgwin up, to be fair, at this point, from catching the back of Lindbergh. I think Churgwin was making some good little chunks of ground on the top two until this little battle, but James Johnson is going to be looking to close in that gap if he can.
Yeah, Ruud and Lindbergh have had really solid opening stints, and fair play to Lindbergh actually staying within 1.5 seconds of Ruud. If Ruud makes even 1 inch of a mistake, then that will let the Swede in. We'll see what JJ can do, though, from here. He's, 3 seconds off Lindbergh currently. I'd say that as long as there's no more pressure from Churgwin behind, that gap is easily manageable. It's only lap 5 of 13, of course.
Absolutely. We'll have a look on that. I know James Johnson has actually got the fastest lap of the race. He didn't set it on the previous lap. He said it a couple of laps ago, but it's 37.230, which is a couple of tenths quicker than what anyone else has achieved in this race so far. So far, so good for James Johnson. If he can close that gap down, he's got 3 seconds to that car in front.
Looking further back, Mitchell de Jong has just made his way past Hansko Mebius. That was into the Retifilia chicane. So the Dutchman starting to move his way further up. Next on his hit list will be Mlinek, who's been unable to escape. He's actually gotten back past Mebius as well, Mlinek. So Mebius falling down the order. And a really wiggly moment on the exit, the De La Roche chicane there. Good to save that one. But obviously running out of... I was going to say he was running out of a bit of tyres maybe, but... He's caught right back up to de Jong, who actually had a bit of a wobbly moment himself there through Lesmo 1. Seems to have collected it back up nicely. And just behind as well, Max Melamed has made his way past Michael Bernard finally. He's into P11 and can focus on closing in on those top 10 cars.
Absolutely. Quint is now going to try and... he's not close enough for a move at the moment, but he does look like he is the faster car between himself and Churgwin, obviously in that slipstream. Broken away from Cameron Brewster, who is kind of in a little world of his own at the moment, who has stepped away from this Fournier duel. Is got a couple of seconds of the car in front, a couple of seconds of the car behind. So Cameron Brewster having a bit of a lonesome race at the moment. But Mike Quint is definitely going to be looking for that P4 pretty soon. He's jumped his way up into 11th in the championship, and at this point he's looking for that top 10, which is not bad considering his first round was back in Monte Carlo. So Quint is making some great strides in this championship so far. As Hansko Mebius and Mitchell de Jong going side by side down into T1. There's a bit of moving, there's a bit of contact. Mebius is going to stay in front.
Just got away with that, Mebius. He had to go around the outside. De Jong had to give him some room, and the two compatriots perhaps a little bit more rubbing than they both would like, but it was a good move overall from Mebius to take back that P9. Of course, giving Mlinek a bit more space. And I tell you what, I'd love to be where Brewster is, to be honest. All on your own. No worries about slipstream behind or ahead. As Mebius goes over the chicane, I notice again. And that might allow de Jong back through. Indeed it does. So they switch positions once again.
Yeah, I remember back in 2014 racing here when I got that 4th place, and through the first few laps of the race I was defending from Timu Toika, who then had a crash, and from that point I wasn't racing anyone through that race, and that is cool, that is fine, I am okay with that, just driving around, doing your own business, not spinning, not dealing with any of that high pressure, especially when you've come from that mid-season slump to be running in 6th position, to not have to fight super hard for it at this moment. Although do not rule out Fournier for closing that gap down, because obviously we know Geoffrey Fournier is extremely fast.
Yeah, I remember when I was racing at Monza for the first time in Formula Challenge, and I took out one of the championship
Oh,
contenders.
yeah.
But the less said about
Fidek.
that, the better. I think, huh?
I was going to say, isn't Fidek leading the Super League these days?
He is. So he's a Super League champion, isn't he?
He
so,
is
I mean, it's
indeed.
like I took out a future Super League champion. Good job, James, from the past. But what we're focusing on right now are the drivers of the present. And we were talking about that gap between Lindbergh and Johnson a while ago, how it was 3 seconds. Johnson's now closed it down to 1 second, and it's only lap 7 of 13. So I think Lindbergh's second position here is under a little bit of threat, as is Churgwin's 4th position as well. Mike Quint, the Swiss driver, right tucked up into the slipstream now, and with all the straights that we have here around Monza, there are going to be plenty of opportunities for him to take the position away from the Dre car.
Absolutely. But yeah, keep an eye on James Johnson, because he's actually closed down. Not by enough for it to be a problem. And I don't think he is going to be a threat for Rualt's win, but has closed the gap down between himself and Rualt by about a second over the last couple of laps. So is doing an immense job to close down that gap, and now it's 0.4 of a second between himself and Lindbergh. He's actually closed the gap to Rualt by a further few tenths. So James Johnson is absolutely flying at the moment.
It's the beauty of Monza. Even if you mess up qualifying, if you've got a good race setup, if you've got good racecraft, then you're going to make your way well. And it's certainly the case for Mike Quint as well, who's literally just gotten past Churgwin well before they hit Parabolica as well. Might be a bit of a poison chalice, that one, though, because Churgwin, he got overtaken before there and got the position straight back at the Retifilier. We'll see whether he can do that once again. And we'll also see whether Johnson ahead can overtake Lindbergh. Look at this, on the inside now, heading down to turn 1. I think he might very well have this, Johnson, actually. And it seems like Lindbergh not really putting up too much of a response either. Johnson through to P2, and Mike Quint holds on to P4.
Yeah, I think that must have been a mistake through Ascari for Churgwin. Not a huge one, but a little bit, because that's the first time that we've seen a car overtake way before the Parabolica. So I think Churgwin might have made a wee bit of a mistake there. But either way, great drive at the moment from Johnson 7th to 2nd. Looking to make that stick. Currently, though, your top 10 is going to be Stefan Rualt, James Johnson, Johan Lindbergh finishing out the podium. Can Mike Quint catch up to that and make it another podium in his Formula Challenge career? Then it's Matthew Churgwin in 5th, Cameron Brewster, his teammate, in 6th position. Still in a little bit of a world of his own. In fact, that world has gotten a little bit bigger as Fournier has dropped off the back, nearly 3 seconds back now for Fournier. Then it's Mlynek in 8th, Mitchell de Jong in 9th, and Hansko Mebius rounding out that top 10.
Yeah, so I'm just having a little... I think Fournier, he managed to wrap that one up quite nicely, actually. So he's got to be careful. Mlynek has been just slowly staying back, slowly pressuring for these last couple of laps. And I think that Fournier's just got to keep his wits about him. Not a bad position, 7th or 8th, I should say. Neither of them bad. You know, they're still going to get you a good reverse grid position. But obviously Fournier would like the more points, and it seems like he's gotten Parabolica slightly wrong as well. Look at Mlynek already onto the back of Fournier, and he's going to go to the outside. I reckon he's going to get this done before turn 1, you know?
Well, it depends on that straight line speed.
Straight line speed of
yeah. Fournier's got some really good straight line speed on that. He's actually faster than Mlynek, even though Mlynek had a little bit of a draft, but he's going for it on the brakes. Oh! Wow, what brakes!
That is outstanding work from Mlynek. He's going to love turn 1 at Monza in future seasons, let me tell you now. Can he hold on to it, though? Round the Curva Grande we go. Fournier obviously has got better wings than Mlynek, so it's all going to be about whether he can get the overlapping. The heads before going into the chicane. Mlynek brakes later, and that's a good return there from Fournier, using those better wings. And Mlynek! Oh, no! Spins it up out of the Della Rosier chicane. Where does he come back on the road? Here comes Barnard. So back on the road in P12. That's a real shame, though, from Macias. However you... I apologise. For Mlynek. We'll call him Mlynek for the sake of it.
Was there a little bit of contact between himself and de Jong? I didn't quite see it.
I will go and look.
Yeah, I thought there was. I think it was just as... it's very... from what I saw anyway, it looked like... you know Pascal Wehrlein, Jenson Button at Spa, where Jenson was going really slow through Les Combes, and Pascal went straight under the back of him. Looks a bit like that. But
I'm looking back at it now, and I would have to disagree. He was looking loose going through the first pass.
Okay.
Oh, I tell you who it was. It was contact with De Jong, and De Jong just helped him round. I think Lineker was already trying to save it, but then De Jong had just finished him off.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I don't think that's really De Jong's fault at all. That's not where we're pointing the blame or anything. We're just saying that's what's happened. But either way, De Jong up into 8th position. P9 is currently where we're having a bit of battling between Max Melamed and Hansko Mebius. Hansko Mebius currently up in that 9th position as we head down into T1. Is he going to make this stick? He is the car ahead, but Melamed is on the inside. Nice little move there. Makes it stick and up into 9th position for Hansko Mebius.
Yeah, he had that good start, didn't he? But he's been falling back and further back since as the race has gone on. And Melamed's been catching up slightly. Just got to keep it calm now, Melamed. He's clearly got a pace advantage. Lap 10 to 13. Still got a bit of time to do this. And it looks like, he's having a little look. That's exactly what you shouldn't do, Max. You just be careful. You got the pace advantage. There are plenty of long straights for you to make that move happen. And actually, he's just damaged his own race as Mebius pulls away for a little bit.
Absolutely. Just a quick update on your two leaders, James Johnson and Stefan Rouault. It's now 2 seconds between the pair of them, and there is still 4 laps to go. Trying to remember how R-Factor counts. It's 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go at the end of this lap.
11, 12. Yes, that's right.
So that's 3 laps to go, 2 seconds, and he's about to start getting the effect of that draft. Can James Johnson come from 7th place to win this race? It'll be very, very important for his championship if that is the case. 1.9 seconds is now the gap.
If it's going to happen, Lewis, it's going to be a last lap.
Certainly
attack.
Is.
But then you've got to keep in mind the question, okay, do I actually want to try and risk my car to make this overtake happen? Because this is the second best position he can be in. I know his championship rivals ahead of him. It's only 5 points, though. But then again, is those 5 points going to be the ones that decide it at the end of the year? A lot surely going on in Johnson's head right now. I'd be fascinated to have a listen in and sort of understand where he's coming from.
Well, yeah. The points gap between the two of them. I know it's only 5 points from him going 20th to 25th, but also considering the fact that Rouault would lose 5 points as well, that's still a 10-point shift. So James Johnson, if he's going to want this move, I think James Johnson's going to want it, especially considering he's missing the next round. He wants to keep that gap as much as possible. Not only that, but you've got to remember he wants to end this very important streak of wins that Rouault has got. It's still 1.9 seconds, though. You've got to remember, this will be his 5th race win in a row, will be Stefan Rouault, which would actually put him as that would be the #1 streak of race wins in Formula Challenge. James Johnson will want to end that at all costs.
Oh, for sure. It sort of it puts a plug in the hole, doesn't it? Just like saying, no, you're going to stop right here, break up the cycle. Because once you get yourself in a groove in Formula Challenge, you're just going to keep on rolling on and rolling on. It's kind of like Super Cup in that respect, but even more important. If you can avoid all the incidents, if you can get a good streak of points going up, then you're going to find yourself flying up the table. No increase or decrease in the gap over that lap, however. I think Rouault has cottoned on to what Johnson is trying to do and is upped his pace a little bit as well. Further down here, look at, just saying 7th and 8th here, De Jong and Fournier. I think this is De Jong just getting past Fournier for P7. Fournier breaking late, but De Jong even later, he's just gone up into P7.
Yeah, Mitchell De Jong up into that 7th position. A great little move. See what Fournier does, though. We know about his wings, and we know how quick he is in a straight line. Is he going to be making a look? He is closing that gap as we go around Curva Grande. Dear. And here he goes. He's going to be looking around the outside. Oh, bit of contact there, I think. Just a little clip. It's okay. Fournier's on the inside with the De La Rozier chicane. A bit of late break there from Mitchell de Jong, and he is actually going to get back up into 7th position. So Mitchell de Jong holds on into De La Rozier chicane. But as I was saying, Stefan Rouault, this would be his 9th win. I believe his 10th win overall in Formula Challenge. If he gets this, his 9th win of the season, though.
And yet he's still 2nd in the championship. Yeah, I think this just shows how good a championship has been this year, though. In years gone by, you've always had one dominant driver, whether it be your Gashella, whether it be your Burlak, whether it be your Strana. This time around, we've got 2 very good championship contenders here. And you can see just now how equal they are. You know, now Rouault's decided, now he's started to up his pace. Now he is up to his own pace and matching each other blow for blow. Just a little note, it seems like Max Melamed has had a bit of an issue here. He fell out of the top 10, and then I was looking to see what happened to him. He's just had a bit of contact with Terence Grech at the first chicane as well, spinning Grech around. So whatever happened to Melamed, his race has unfortunately not gone the way he would have wanted it.
No, unfortunately not. But sometimes that just happens. One mistake, and then basically followed by another, and then another, and then another. We've both been on the receiving end of that. But either way, there is one lap to go in this race. That gap is going back up. It looks very likely for Stefan Ruol, and this is not a commentator's curse because he's too good for that. It looks good for a Stefan Ruol win here today. But either way, what a drive from Lindberg. My shout out at this point, though, would be to Mike Quint, who's closed that gap down to a second between himself and Lindberg. He is pushing really hard to get that podium, and it looks like this might actually come down to the Parabolica looking at these two.
Yeah, I think the key for Lindberg in the second half of the season has been finding the consistency and pushing too hard. I feel like it's hurt him a little bit this race, however, because you can see how much Quint has just caught up. I'm not sure. It'll have to be a dive into the Parabolica, won't it, in order to try and overtake the Swede. Well, I think he's a little bit too far away. But either way, both of them have had excellent races regardless. But come around the final corner.
Yes, indeed. Stefan Ruol is going to come around the final corner, and he is going to make it 5 wins in a row. It is a record here in Formula Challenge. It's his 9th win of the season, and that is another 5 points for his champion. James Johnson does the best recovery drive he can and plants it in second position. Johan Lindberg comes around the corner, and he's going to come home in third position. Great drive from Lindberg, great drive from Quint. From Churgwin and Brewster, it's a return to form they had at the start of the season. 5th and 6th. De Jong in 7th. Fournier in 8th. Mebius 9th. Mleineck is going to finish in 10th position, back into the top 10. Michael Barnard is going to come across the line in 11th position, the teammate of race winner Stefan Ruol. Then Max Melamed, a slightly mared race towards the end, is Max Melamed in 12th position. Mike Schroten is going to finish in 13th, and he said Roy again. Then it's Terence Grech and Mark Hutchinson rounding out your points.
And barring Eduard Batalla, it seems, no retirements.
Indeed.
I tell you what, I was heart in mouth moment for Quint, to be honest, because he went into the Parabolica and he ended up getting caught on the outside AstroTurf. And I was like, oh no, don't throw it away here. Thankfully, he was very sensible, but dab of the brakes, just get it back on track safely and taking that well-deserved 4th position. But you know what? I must have brought some good charm here today, because that was an excellent race to watch all over the place.
Indeed, that was surprisingly good. Well done, Formula Challenge Field. The summer break has done good. Yes, I'm impressed.
Lovely.
That was a good race.
So,
either way, we still have a second race to come, though.
We do.
I don't mean to
Fingers
jinx
crossed. Oh, of course. And your reverse grid, it is 15 or 10 to 15 in this series, isn't it?
Yes, it is 10 to 15.
It is, right. So we've got Mleineck, Barnard, Melamed, Mike Schroten, Grech, and Hutchinson. And if I remember correctly, Hutchinson's had some pretty good drives from reverse grids. So, as has Grech as well, who's won a race from a reverse grid. So, a couple of good people in there with a chance of podiums. Reverse grid wins, of course. Melamed, we know he's got pace. But I tell you what, out of all those people, Mike Schroten should be extremely proud of himself. First R Factor 2 race, and he's gotten himself some points from outside of the points. So, you know, he should be delighted with that. Now, if he can get his own R Factor 2 account, that'd be lovely.
It would be a good start to his R Factor 2 campaign. But no, seriously, on this field, that's not bad. I'm not. It's maybe not an as strong field as that we've had over the previous 2 seasons, but there is no argument that this is still a good field. There is still a lot of good drivers on this field. There's a lot of fast drivers on this field.
Oh, for sure.
So,
I mean, just having commentated on half the Super Cup season, and of course being invested in the Super Cup season with a team there myself, you always tend to look down at Formula Challenge to see what drivers are coming through. And I've actually held this view of Johnson for a long time, but looking at the likes of Ruel now, Lindberg, I think Quint's already done a couple of reserve races in Super Cup anyway. There is a lot of potential in this Formula Challenge field to move up to Super Cup next year. And given that the right amount of talent moves up to Super League from Super Cup for 2017 as well, I think we could see a lot of these guys fitting in very nicely.
Yeah, and I'll still be last. It'd be
Oh,
great.
no, come on. You're doing
Oh,
fine this
boom!
year.
No, I'm not doing great recently. But either way, there is a lot of potential in this field. I know because there's been a few drivers that have moved up for a couple of rounds. You say the like of Quinn, who did a few rounds for TG, stuff like that. There is a lot of potential on this field. James Johnson has tried to focus himself on Formula Challenge. Same with Ruolt. They want to focus themselves on Formula Challenge, on this title battle that they are presently having. So they will be drivers of the future. I think it is mostly amusing, as I was told by one of James Johnson's old team bosses, Robert Wiesenmuller. Of course, the that time was the team boss of THR. Is that James Johnson only started doing well after he left that team? It's like he wasn't trying when he was in that team. Now he's suddenly turned a light on his head and is like, I'm doing this now, because he's always had pace, just never quite put it together.
Well, I think team environment is actually one of the most understated factors in terms of how well you actually do in a season. I mean, I can happily attest to that in the International Touring Cup. Like I felt at the end of one season, like I was with Triple 20 for one season, or for half a season, I should say. I didn't feel like I was doing good myself. The team didn't feel I was doing good. We ended the contract. I actually came back with Wouters Automotive in another rear-wheel drive. And on my first return back, after no practice, after qualifying 20th with rainy conditions all throughout the event, I managed to get a podium out of it. So, I think it really does depend a lot on what team you choose. And it's why if I was I was a big driver, I'd always want to just consider my options for every team out there, because some want to put them under pressure, some don't.
Yes, to use your ITC example, same with me in ITC. I wasn't super comfortable in the first season I did, or the second. It was only the third when I joined a team like Ice Cold there's that comfort. You do need to be comfortable, whether that is a high pressure environment, like going on to iRacing and joining something like Team Redline and having that seriously high pressure environment, or whether it's joining a team like Backmarker Brigade and not having a high pressure environment. It's kind of like whatever you can get, just to have a bit of fun. Yeah, it's whatever environment you pick.
So by high pressure, you mean how fast your reaction speeds are before Max Verstappen moves in front of you?
Boom. He is a Team Redline driver.
Oh, no, that's just... We can fire shots from here. You won't listen.
Well, I mean, we can fire shots from here. It's I normally do anyway. Either way, whilst we are here, we will get straight to the championship standings, which after that race does leave, amazingly and shockingly, James Johnson in the lead of the championship. Shock, horror. He has 434 points. It does get slashed down a little bit to Stefan Ruolt. So it's 376 for Stefan Ruolt, 434 for James Johnson. Jonathan Holmes, who hasn't bothered to grace us with his presence today, is in third position still, 244 points. Terence Grech in fourth position, 190. Carlos Fernandez, another missing driver here, currently in fifth position, 169 points, by Jeffrey Fournier, only a single point behind. And that will likely change to a top 5 for Fournier by the end of the evening. Can Matthew Churgwin jump ahead of Carlos Fernandez as well? He is in 7th position on 162, again leading his teammate Cameron Brewster, who did have the better of him over most of the start of the season. But they are about to come under threat by Johan Lindberg, who is only a single point off the back of Cameron Brewster, 149 points to his name, but has got most of those over the last few rounds. And then there is also Mike Quint, who has just jumped himself into the top 10 in the standings. So important stuff there for the top 10 of this Drivers' Championship as we are getting into the important time of this season.
And I tell you what, this might be a very important day in terms of impressing people, as the reverse grid number for race 2 is number 13. So Mr. Mike Schroten, on his return to the Formula Challenge, finds himself on reverse grid pole, alongside Max Melamed of all people. Michael Barnardo also up there. I'm going to say it's Masai Mlynek. I think that's the right pronunciation.
We're just going with Mlynek, mate.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll put my neck out to say Masai. I'll say Masai Mlynek.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but he lines up P4. So those are 4 drivers who you wouldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, they're going to win the race in reverse grid. But they have a very good chance to do so now.
Unfortunately, knowing the 2 drivers they are, I am struggling to look past Johnson and Ruolt. There is only one thing.
Really?
There is only one thing I feel that would get in their way, and that is the Concertina into T1. The thing is those 2, right? Look, imagine Super Cup, right? And you know the dominance that Lars Brugman and Sven de Vries had. They won the previous, I think it's 10 or 12 races between the 2 of them.
Something like that, yeah.
Until Niels Brugman did eventually break it at Spa. I expected to go straight back to it just being those 2 again. It's a similar form of the top of the table that Johnson and Ruolt have had. It's only been broken over the last now 11 races by 2 drivers, one being Grech, one being Lindbergh, at Germany. So it's 1 track. Other than that, 9 of the previous 11 races have been won by them.
I mean, I could be optimistic though, right? We had a clean race, or at least from what we could see, we had a clean race.
In fact, no! I'm not getting in the way of that. I'm just saying that I find it hard to look behind those 2. I think we're going to have a good race, absolutely.
Oh no, but I'm saying that logic though. Like, we had a good race, which might be unexpected.
Oh right, I get you.
But yeah, we might have an unexpected winner as well.
I get you. But no, I've got to look at my logic, mate. I'm sorry.
I need to look at the grid myself, actually. I need to see who's in between Leineck and those 2.
That is true. That is true. Because obviously Fournier will be in there. Same with
Lindbergh and Quint.
Lindbergh, yeah. The thing is though, is this has gone full Super Cup 2014, where you remember we had that period at the start of the year, with the exception of Monte Carlo. I think it was the first 7 or 8 rounds where the winner of race 1 went on to win race 2. It's just like that. Since Canada to now, there has only been 1 round, which was that Germany round, where there was 2 different winners.
And it does suggest to me that those 2 should, at least, they don't have to, of course, they should be looking to move up to Super Cup next season, because they are clearly the stars of the field. They are winning so many races, they're getting so many pole positions, and the gap between those 2 and the rest of the field, in terms of the championship standings as well, is pretty evident. I guess the big question now is whether their teams, Mad Cape and Deltec, will actually look to jump up themselves, and whether they can keep a hold of these 2, because I'm pretty sure that they're going to be hot property going into 2017. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke to Stefan about various things towards this topic as to what he's done. He has had offers for this year for various drives. That is no surprise. I'm sure Johnson has received the same level of stuff. I know Stefan's mentality around it is that if he's going to dedicate himself to a team, he wants to dedicate himself to a team for a year, or for the period of time. That's why he's not moved up yet. That's why you've not seen him in Super League, in Super Cup. So I think there is the expectation from themselves to be in Super Cup or Super League next year. For JJ, I think maybe making a move to Super League, considering how brilliantly it went last time, might be a mistake.
I mean, as I say, we saw him in 2014 Formula Challenge, and even then I was like, yeah, you can move up to Super Cup and you'll do pretty well, actually. I think he'll be top 10 contender. Went up to Super League, didn't work out for him, and I was like, so he's going to move down to Super Cup. Moves down to Formula Challenge. So maybe after circling around that one series for a long time, he's finally going to make the move to the middle tier. I think both of them anyway will do very nicely next year.
I'd like to see both of them move into Super Cup. I think both of them would make an excellent, a little battle in Super Cup would be a great thing. But for now, actually, I am quite glad that JJ at the start of the year made the decision to move down to Formula Challenge, because what it has done, it has created, hopefully this will go down to the wire, because we have never had a championship battle in Formula Challenge go down to the wire. Not once.
No, it's always been one dominant driver, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, as you said in their previous race, there has always been that one dominant driver, but now we've got those 2 dominant drivers. As you say about the points gap that they've got over the rest of the field, excluding Jonah Holmes, who's not here. James Johnson has got 226 points before this round to Terence Grech in 4th. That is a huge gap. That is more than twice the points.
They're not going to be catching up, are they?
No. But either way, we are about to get underway for the formation lap. It's going to be Mike Schroten leading us away from pole position, and Max Melamed alongside. What is going to happen into T1 between those two, we will find out very shortly, I'm sure. Then it's going to be Michael Barnard in third position, Mlynek in fourth, and it's Hansko Mebius in fifth position. What can he do? Obviously, had his first podium in Formula, or second podium in Formula Challenge this year. Can't even remember at the time, but
That was me.
yes, you were his team boss once upon a time, my buddy. But hopefully he can make things stick. From fifth, Jeffrey Fournier in sixth position, Mitchell de Jong in seventh, Cameron Brewster eighth, alongside his teammate Matthew Chergwin. Then it'd be Mike Quint in 10th, Johan Lindberg in 11th, James Johnson and Stefan Ruol, your championship contenders, 12th and 13th. What can they do from there? Just ahead of Terence Grech. And then it's Mike Hutchinson in 15th, Gerrit de Vries in 16th, Montas Povolaitis in 17th for Hinz Motorsports. Of course, that team being fairly new to this championship. Philippakos in 18th. Isn't he on a controller, Philippakos?
I think he might be, possibly.
Yeah, I think we had this discussion in the Virtual Endurance Championship a little while ago.
Yes.
But I think he's on a controller. Brett Metcalf in 19th position, Naranjan Kumar all the way down in 20th. Hopefully he can do something from there for him. Timu Cabrera in 21st, Rob Mason, who did make his way all the way up into the points paying positions, but then dropped back down into 22nd. And it's Bruno Souza Ferreira, Andres Pestovs and Edward Batala rounding out the field. Of course, Naranjan Kumar and Edward Batala were two of the ones that were knocked out straight away in T1.
I'm gonna go for a really out there choice.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say Max Melamed to win race 2.
Oh, really? I'm gonna go for a really out there choice as well, and I'm gonna say James Johnson.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it is out there in the sense that he's P12.
Excluding those two, the person that I feel in that top lot to win the race most, let's say from the top 10, I'm gonna go with Fournier.
I think Fournier is another good choice.
This is going to be an interesting race, though. I'm quite excited because hopefully we don't have too much into T1 to make this not so great. But of course, they were fairly clean for the first part, and it was only a bit of a concertina effect towards the fact that
I am clutching my wood and table.
Clutching your wood. Don't do that on broadcast, mate.
As a table.
As a final driver gets into position, we are all going to start on this grid. The second race of the evening is about to be underway. And we are racing, and it is a good start from Mike Schroten, who's actually... Oh, no, he's dropped back. I think he missed a shift there as Bernard's going to come straight through. He's going to be on the outside. Oh, we're 4 wide. Oh, there's contact. It's Max Melamed who is leading into T1. It's Hansko Mebius. It's Mlynek in third. It's Mike Schroten. And how down that start-finish straight there was a death, I will have no idea. They have delayed it until T1 and half the grid is off. But currently, though, it is Max Melamed who is leading coming down into the De La Roger chicane. It's Hansko Mebius, though, he's going to be onto the attack. He's going to look around the outside. I think he'll just drop back in line here. Oh, there's nearly a bit of contact there between the two of them. Mlynek is just trying to stay in front of Mike Schroten, who had a great launch, but then just stopped. It's as if he missed a shift. So Mike Schroten there in fourth position, Bernard in fifth, Fournier sixth, Chergwin seventh, Quint in eighth, Lindberg 10th, Ruol in... Lindberg in 9th, Ruol in 10th. Where is James Johnson in all of this? He's in 15th position.
Yeah,
as Philippakos is round. Philippakos and De Vries have just made contact between the two Lesmos. And that is a front wing loss for Gerrit de Vries. And I think that is pretty much game over for points for those two.
I have so many questions.
On that
but
start?
I think it is best to... But I think we'll just leave it and say...
What's Melamed doing here?
Well, he's trying to lose the... I remember, Hamilton trying to lose the slipstream of Pestos
Malaysia.
Seasons ago. Malaysia
2010, yeah.
It's kind of like that, isn't it? I think it's a little bit over the top, but, you know, we'll wait and see. Either way, Hansko Mebius, how on earth he, A, didn't actually hit anyone off, and B, actually saved the car is... beyond me. Outstanding car control. Good thing from Mlynek, as I noticed. 4 points. Oh, Fournier goes into 5th. That's a good move there. Barnard 6th. Oh, Bruce is 7th, and Quint getting a little bit touched up there with Lindbergh and Ruo. Or is it Chogwin? Sorry, my bad, Chogwin. Bit of concertinaing there as everyone tries to get back into position. Philip Parkos unfortunately becomes our first retirement of race 2. But oh my word, things are getting very tight. And I tell you what, Mlynek is absolutely flying straight onto the back of Mebius now.
Wow, this is great pace from Linek, obviously the Hinz Motorsports driver. They were doing good things pace-wise back in Hungary. Unfortunately, they did not catch where they were back in Spa, but they were really quick back in Hungary. So this is not really a shock that they're this quick, but we'll see what Mlynek can do.
De Jong's just been off the road in between the two Lesmos, and here comes Johnson now. He's looking to make his way back through the field. He's just going to go on the outside of Tomu Cabrera here. Looks like we're going to see a double Mad Cape overtake. I noticed Quinton Churwin going into the Ascari there as well. And De Jonge and Greg going side by side into the Ascari. Great save from De Jonge, but that was a little bit silly trying to hold it there. De Jonge falls down to 14th, gives his teammate Johnson a position. As further up here goes Fournier through on Mike Schroten into the Parabolica. So the Frenchman up into 4th. Further up, further back, sorry, yeah, that's Quint through on Churwin. But look at Mlynek right onto the back of Mebius. He could be looking at P2 by the time we hit turn 1.
And we know what his brakes are like, so expect him to get this move done down into the first chicane. And here he goes.
Lovely.
And boom, those brakes are so good on that car. He is on fire with brakes.
And behind here goes Churwin around the outside of Quint into turn 1. Give each other space.
Oh, there's a bit of contact.
Contact. Lindbergh's going to benefit.
He is indeed. He's also going to have the overspeed here on Churwin coming down into the De La Roger chicane. He's going to pick the outside of Curva Grande. Churwin's going to move across a little bit. That's a bit naughty, but it's okay.
Oh no! Mebius and Mlynek at the De La Roger. Oh no!
Oh no! They're in the middle of the road. Oh, everyone's in the middle of the road. Ah!
Oh god, that was. I'm sorry to say, but that was completely Mebius's fault. He tried to break around the outside of Mlynek and just turned straight into him. Really poor driving. And what it's done is it's given Max Melamed a 4-second gap back to Jeffrey Fournier. The Austrian is in a world of his own at the moment.
James Johnson approached that chicane, looked at the carnage and went, nope, and just skipped over the chicane. I will give, just to clarify with this, he did give the positions back. He is just in front of De Jong, behind Grex where he was. But didn't have to go through that wreck. Oh, Grex cut a little too much there of the second part of Ascari, final part of Ascari. But he is now dropped down into 10th position.
And now Johnson's right behind Ruel.
Indeed. Now Greg is going to be under attack by Mlynek, who's backed out of it. Doesn't want to get involved in 2 incidents on 1 lap.
No, as I say, it wasn't Mlynek's fault whatsoever.
No.
Mebius gave him no space on the inside, so I'm glad to see that Mlynek didn't lose out more than that, to be honest. And who knows, maybe with a bit of front wing damage there, he might have a little less drag coming down the front straight.
Oh, do you remember? Oh, isn't that? No,
look at this! He's already overtaken Greg into turn 1, so back into the top 10.
Yeah, it's not a rule if you've lost part of your front wing. Just to clarify, on this rule is if you've lost your entire front wing that you have to pit within 3 laps. And it was because the lack of drag you had, because R-factor logic.
Yeah.
But either way, no, it's good to see Mlynek, especially if it's not his fault, to have moved up. I didn't see the incident, so... but yeah, it's good to see that...
You can trust me.
I trust you. I trust you. Don't you worry. I trust you, mate. It wasn't his fault, so it's good to see him not get affected too badly, and hopefully will be able to move himself up into good positions, because we know what his pace is like so far in this race. But he is going to come under attack here from Greg into the second Lesmo. Oh, this is going to be terrifying.
Oh, well.
Wow.
Stayed
They
in
both
white
lived.
lines. Incredible. Greg back up into the top 10. Watch out for Tomu Cabaret here as well. He's going to have a bit of overspeed here. Looks like Mlynek's going to go to the inside of Ascari. I do notice there was a bit of positions changing further up. Mlynek on the inside of Ascari. We don't want to put it there. Oh, that was Mlynek's fault, unfortunately. Very, very over-ambitious move. And just collected by, who was that? Was that Batala for good measure? It was. Yeah, Mlynek, he could have still had a good race from there, but that was his fault, unfortunately.
Lindbergh has also, unfortunately, partially died on the back of his car because he had no rear wing.
Lindbergh's all the way down there, isn't he? That's a shame.
Yeah. Either way, though, our championship protagonists are in 6th and 7th and are closing up. James Johnson did look towards the end of the race like the faster of the pair of them, So what can he do? Is he going to close in this gap? I am pretty sure from this point that catching Melamed is not the target. He is 12 seconds up the road from Johnson. He's 6 seconds up the road from Fournier. Melamed has completely cleared out here.
And check this out in terms of, we talk about this position battle between Johnson and Ruo. It's Deltec versus McGlade. We've got all four of them in our positions here from P5 to P8.
We do indeed.
We could see a tactical switch here from Deltec. I'm not sure what their policy is on championship leaders or whatnot, but Barnard, if I was being a good teammate, would let Ruo throw instantly.
Yeah, but haven't we got to be careful of that? Otherwise, they might get a 1.5 million euro fine. Boom! I had to get that one in there. I'm sorry.
Well, there we go.
I had to get that one in there.
I agree with the shots fired. Don't worry.
I just had to get one in there. But yeah, no, I think Barnard. If I was Barnard, I would also move out of the way. But I think he's picked the wrong time to do it because Johnson is going to take complete advantage of that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Indeed.
Clock's out. He's paid 10% of the total bill on that one.
Oh, the shots. No, that was the perfect time for James Johnson for that move to have happened. If what Bernard should have done is backed out, like leaving the De La Rosière chicane, only let Ruolt through and then block Johnson as much as he could. But unfortunately, that is not what has happened. And Bernard, doing the right thing, in my opinion, and letting his teammate go, has unfortunately let Johnson through as well, who is going to be closing right onto the back of his teammate as they're closing right on the back of Yeah, Mike Schroten, who has been passed by Ruolt, countryman, into T1. And James Johnson's going to go for the cutback, but it's not going to quite work there. So this is what Ruolt wants. And
De Jong's just gone past Barnard as well, so Mad Cape moving through nicely. Just looking at Chogwin as well, 9th there, Grek 10th, Cabrera 11th, Kumar up into 12th, so the Indian doing quite nicely. In fact, the two Sadevs in total are doing quite nicely, 12th and 14th, Mason 13th, Mebius back up into the point in 15th. Although that point is under a lot of pressure. Look at this. Hutchinson and Brewster as well all over the back of him. And don't do the same thing as before. Just about holds on to P15 provisionally, of course, anyway, barring any penalties. Further up, though, I'm looking at Quint as well. He's into P3, Ruolt P4. So wait, Mike Schroten's fallen behind Johnson. That's what I was completely fuzzled by, don't worry.
Yeah, confuzzled. Yeah.
I can say this much, though. Melamed's still pulling away from Fournier, 6.2 seconds the gap. He has clocked out, said, thank you very much, Formula Challenge Field. I'm going to take my first win of the year.
Indeed. Melamed is, on this return, Melamed is doing everything just right in this race. As back in 7th position, De Jong had a mistake through Ascari, and he's now under attack from Bernard and from Churgwin. He's going to hold it on the inside of the Parabolica, but Churgwin is going to get the cutback here on Bernard, and he might actually have the slipstream here to get past De Jong into T1.
That was really smart drive from Churgwin. Just held back, let everything unfold in front of him.
Here
he's
he goes.
Taking Bernard, and he's got the slipstream now. Let's see, moving to the outside. He's going to have good brakes to get the Dutchman. Yeah, let's see. Brakes later, but De Jong brakes late as well. Around the outside, we go with Churgwin. Good respect between the two. Great move from Churgwin. And now here comes Bernard to try and compound the misery on De Jong as we enter Curva Grande.
That was a nice move. That was good. I like that. I approve of that, Matthew Churgwin.
Johnson Ruolt. This is big. Outside of the De La Rosière chicane. Great move from Johnson. As further back, what was that? Is that Mike Schroten getting involved as well? And there goes De Jong through. All kicking off now, Lewis.
They are indeed, as Ruolt actually exceeded track limits on the exit there of the first Lesmo. Obviously, you can't really gain that much from it, but still he did.
Cabrera round, P10. No. Exit of the Lesmo, so the two Sadevs say thank you very much, picking up more points on their merry way. Don't rejoin now! Oh, no! Oh, my... That was horrible.
Oh, well, further updates. Mike Schroten is down to 9th position now. He will be, unfortunately, to put it to him in the harshest way, unfortunately probably down to 10th in a minute after Grek gets hold of him down into Parabolica. But he is going to have a little bit of a drafting sesh here off of Barnard. Is he going to be able to get past? I think Grek might do the same thing that Churgwin did and try and get the cutback. He's not going to quite hold it. He's actually going to run a little bit too far wide. But a lot of racing here going on between these lot.
Yeah, Cabrera needs to learn how to rejoin and needs to learn partners as well, unfortunately. But looking at Greg, this should be easy for the Maltese drivers. Down the inside, I noticed Johnson back ahead of Rowe. I think the two of them switched positions briefly. Oh no, it's De Jong on Churwin, sorry. Interestingly enough, Greg not able to get past Mike Schroten, so the Dutchman showing some good wings, but not great traction. And the Sadev car say thank you very much again. It's like a 5-for-1 Sunday offer for these guys. 10th and 11th now for those two.
Indeed. Oh dear. Just a quick update on the lead. Nothing to be too concerned about, but it did come down for an entire second.
That's fair. Rowe just had an off-track moment as well at the De La Rozier chicane. Now lost about a second to Johnson, and De Jong.
Oh, I think James is lagging.
Oh dear, me? Yeah, never mind.
No, he's back. He's back. Hello. Mebius is out.
Hello. Mebius is out.
I don't see what happened there. Let's have a look.
I'm leaving the server right now, so keep on commentating.
Very well. I'm not quite sure what happened there with Mebius, but himself and Kumar have exited the race. Either way, up towards that lead. It's come down to 4.8 seconds. Fournier is really making a move on this lead at the moment, as he is trying to close down on Melamed. I don't think it's enough, but it's something to at least be slightly considered. James Johnson's trying to close in on the podium, but it's to Mike Quinn, who is of no slow pace, as we are all aware.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you said it was a second between Ruot and Johnson that he lost. He's dropped back a further 4 seconds and is dropping back into the clutches of Mitchell de Jong. So those tyres have definitely been overheated in those mistakes. We all know what R-Factor 2 does when you touch grass. It actually sets the tyre on fire. But yes, Mitchell de Jong is going to be closing in on that position and hopefully getting himself back up to the top 5, which would be a great result for McGlade. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Are they leading? Yeah, they're leading the championship by quite a way.
Yes. It's the one problem with Deltec, isn't it? They've got their one superstar driver, but then the second drivers, whoever it's been, has not been able to bring in anywhere near the same amount of points. And I know that De Jong's had a lot of consistency issues this year, but when he has brought home points, they've usually been good ones.
Yeah, that is sometimes one of the things that happens with a team where you've got one very quick driver and one not so quick driver. I remember back in the days of 2014 with walk racing, and it was Peter Burlack and then whoever they could pay.
Wow.
It's all right. It's all right. Walk racing doesn't exist anymore.
They don't, you're right. They're still savage.
Yeah. I'm getting all the shots out today. Oh dear, it feels good. No, now the gap's going back up. Max Mellow's like, all right, I don't want you to contend for this win. Jeffrey Fournier might be dropping back into the clutches of Quint, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good pace, hasn't he? And I think he's just been trying to control the race. I mean, at this point, Quint's just trying to raise his stock, isn't he? Just show what a good driver he is. And even if he was to finish in third position here, that's still a mightily good effort, considering that he started, what, a quarter of the way through the year?
Yeah, it was Canada. No, Monaco, his first round. Yeah. I will say this, Pavlaitis has completely missed the first chicane. He was going for a really good move there on Mike Schroten, but then just... What is he doing now? He's just rejoined. No, sorry.
Rejoining. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Pavlaitis went for a really good move, but then fully Nico Rosberg T1. Now he's going to go side by side with Roy Schroten into the De La Rozier chicane. Is anything going to happen here? Pavlaitis.
Oh, well, that was something
unexpected.
That was unexpected. Mark Hutchinson and Rob Mason contained in their own little battle. I can only imagine the two of them like staring each other in the eyes across from each other's car, completely forgetting that there were cars in front of them. Hinds Motorsport must hate the De La Rozier chicane now, because that's both of the cars who've been taken out there.
Yes, hopefully it's not too bad for Pavlaitis. So it looks as if Pavlaitis was just kind of backing out of that move, and then suddenly two cars. I'm watching this from Swingman, and two cars just really quickly appeared on my screen, and like, I think it's just a racing incident, but man, that is not good. Because I'm pretty sure those two behind would have actually just gone through the corner normally had Pavlaitis not been there. So I don't know. It's a good drive from Rob Mason up into 12th position, but he's going to be under attack from Pavlaitis pretty soon.
It depends how much damage is currently on the Lithuanian's car, to be honest. I'd imagine quite a bit. That said, I mean, Mason and Hutchinson got a bit of damage in there. No, looking at Hutchinson's car, he's lost both of the end plates on that front wing, so none of the turning ability anymore, I'd imagine. We've also got Brett Metcalf up into the points. He's up into P14, so benefiting nicely. And Jerry, looks like Povolitis is just going to try and get back on his merry way, overtake Rob Mason. 6 seconds the gap between Melamed and Fournier, though. 9/10 between Fournier and Quintus. Lap 11, although Quintus just been off the road, that is not going to help. But it's all when... well,
he's doing a great job this lap.
I was looking forward to a great P2 scrap. Guess we're not going to get that. Lap 11 to 13. Still a bit of time to try and, recollect his dignity at least, Mike Quinn. But as I say, P3, he will be laughing all the way home with that to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terence Grech has lost his rear wing in P9.
Has he really?
And his front wing.
That must have been quite the old boo-boo he's had there. Oh, Mason's not. Credit to him, he's not spun.
I was just about to say. Oh, good save.
That was a good save.
Oh, and Mike Schroten's just fallen down to P13, so I'm guessing Mason and Povolitis are both ahead of him now.
Yeah, Povolitis is going to be under attack though from Mike Schroten into Parabolica, but they are both obviously going to gain a position on Terence Grech when he inevitably pits.
It's not even a Formula. What is?
Oh, he's not going to pit.
Is it?
That's
Wait,
illegal.
why is he still going round?
That's unfortunately. Sorry, Grech. And basically the rule is, I think it's 2 laps this season, isn't it? You've got to pit. If you've lost a wing, you've got to pit within 2 laps. Otherwise, it's disqualification. So unfortunately, that might be heading Grech's way. After that is rewatched. But either way, this was something that we were discussing with myself, yourself, Menaclont, and various other people before this race about Terence Grech's inconsistency. And he's always got the pace, but can't quite put it all together. It's actually a bit like Johan Lindberg a bit earlier on in the season. He always had flashes of pace, but only could put it together once every 4 rounds.
Yeah, but sometimes you just lose form as well. I don't think Greg's a bad Formula Challenge driver. In fact, I think on his day, he's probably one of the best Formula Challenge drivers out of the field. But, there's just some races when nothing goes your way. Oh.
That was so close. Terence Grech nearly got absolutely creamed off the road with that rejoin from Brett Metcalf, who has got a back marker into the points.
Which is brilliant.
That is absolutely brilliant. I didn't think back marker even existed anymore.
Press F for Simon Smith.
Rip.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I've not spoken to Simon Smith in a while. He was my old team boss, though, wasn't he? He was your old team boss. Yeah. Oh dear, Jeffrey Fournier. Oh, sorry, Jeffrey Fournier and Mike Quint. A bit of argy-bargy there through T1, and Mike Quint is up into second. How did that happen?
I don't know, because I'm just rejoining the server after being booted again. Maybe you could tell us.
Let me have a look for you. Fournier just... it was these two just... my position. No, my position. And then just bashing each other around. So, I don't know. A bit of hip and shoulder there from those two. Either way, Mike Quint up into second position. And then Jeffrey Fournier down to third. He's going to be under attack, though, from James Johnson, as Terence Grech is now out of the race. He does not have to face that disqualification anymore. But James Johnson is going to be looking. This is the final lap of the race. And James Johnson's going to be looking for that podium. Can he do it? Can he get claw some of these points back that he lost? Oh, Mike Quint's crashed out of a Ascari.
Oh, no.
Mike Quint has crashed in the Ascari chicane. So that means that...
front wing.
Yeah, he has lost the front wing. He's going to lose a position to Ruot as well. Jeffrey Fournier back onto second position. James Johnson is going to get that podium, probably not in the way he expected, though. And on the final lap of the race, Max Melamed, Mike Quint's teammate, is going to come around the corner and take his first Formula Challenge win of the season. He's returned to Formula Challenge with great form and takes that win. Jeffrey Fournier is going to be second. James Johnson is going to be third. Stefan Ruot is going to be in fourth position. And Mike Quint is going to come home in fifth place. Mitchell de Jong in sixth. Matthew Cherguin in seventh. Michael Barnard in eighth. Cameron Brewster in 9th, and Rob Mason looking like he might get a top 10 here. But Mantas Povolitis is going to be right in his rear ring. There's going to be side by side up towards the line, but I think Rob Mason is going to have this. He is indeed. Rob Mason gets a top 10 this evening. Mantas Povolitis gets 11th. Mike Schroten gets some more points in 12th position. Then it's Mark Hutchinson, Brett Metcalf, and Andres Pestovs rounding out the points.
I'll tell you what, Pestovs is going to be delighted with that. My
Absolutely.
word, I noticed Lindbergh flying off the road trying to get to him. Yeah, Metcalf and Pestovs are going to be absolutely over the moon with those points finishes. What a shame for Quint, though, just at the end there, letting it fall. But I correctly called both of the race winners today. I promise I haven't fixed anything. I promise.
Hashtag script.
Thrown out the window with Melamed. He's broken the train.
Has indeed. That is a stunning drive from Melamed. I'm very impressed. Not a foot wrong.
Just saying, it did help that the two people behind him who looked like they might actually be able to challenge him, one of them took the other one out, you know. You still need to put in the consistent laps, you still need to keep it on the black stuff, and you still need to have the good pace to be able to stay ahead of everyone who is behind the two people behind you. And he did that with great aplomb.
Aplomb?
Aplomb.
Is that a word?
Yeah, if you complete something with aplomb, you complete something with you complete something to a good degree.
I did not think that was a thing.
Hold on, I'll get the actual definition. Aplomb. Listen, aplomb. Thank you, Google thingy. You talk.
Amazing coverage here. Great scenes. Yeah. We will get some interviews for some of these drivers, and we will discuss briefly with them with how their evening went. Let's drag in these two.
Very quickly, aplomb, self-confidence or assurance, especially when in a demanding situation.
Taken them.
Oops. Yeah. No, sorry, I didn't realise that aplomb was a thing. But either way, I thought it was a fruit. Either way,
that's a plum.
Yes, I gather this. We will go very briefly then to our championship leader, Mr. James Johnson, who had a decent evening with 2 podiums, no wins though. Not impressed there, mate. How was that evening for you?
Oh, that was all ruined because of qualifying.
Yeah, you were not great.
Yeah, I made a bit of a hash brown of that. And then,
Not a plum.
Well, yeah, a hash brown. I think that sounds a lot better. I ran out of fuel on my last lap. Just like Melbourne, except I was actually on a lap this time, and I come through Parabolica. I look down, and 0. And I was a 10th up on Stefan as well, so it was annoying.
Are you still happy with how this evening went, with the points that you still managed to get even after a poor qualifying?
Yeah, I'd have to say sorry to Cameron in turn 1 of race 2 though. I ran over the sausage curb and I kind of landed on his rear tyre, and he went round.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Any questions from you, Kirky?
No.
No. Denied. Absolutely denied.
Guys, what happened in lap 4 at the second chicane?
Lap 4, second chicane?
No, mate, tell us.
I don't know. I just went straight through the chicane, out braking myself against someone else, and then.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. That was.
I was like,
Lineck.
And then
that's
all
crazy,
of a sudden,
bruv.
I found myself in P7. I was like, whoa, what am I doing up here? And I just let a load of people back through because I cut the chicane.
Yeah, I noted it on the broadcast. Don't you worry, mate. I called you out. But either way, it's been a good evening for you, and hopefully the round that you'll be missing next round, won't be too bad.
Suzuka, it will be hard to come back for race 2 wins for there.
Yes.
I'll tell you that.
From experience.
Yeah, I've never done well at Suzuka, so I'm kind of happy I'm missing out. So.
No, either way, we'll hope that your season will stay good, and we hope that the championship does come down to the wire in the way that we hope it will. Next man we will go to is Johan Lindbergh, who's moved himself quite comfortably up into the top 10 in the points after one decent result, one not so decent result, and hopefully a good evening for you, Johan.
Yes, all in all, it's a good evening, but I'm a bit disappointed of the second race at the moment. So, but it's always nice to get the podium. So happy.
Are you good? Happy with this form that you're starting to find? You obviously found it in Germany, and you're continuing some good pace as the season is progressing.
Yes, I've been racing a little bit smarter this later stage of the season, and the results have come then. But I still need some, I must say, luck in the second race, because it's always someone who makes me go around and destroys the race.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is just one of the things that happens with racing, especially with the concertina effect into T1 and stuff like that. Are you looking to do the entire season, or are you missing rounds like James Johnson?
I'm planning to do the whole season. If something a little more important shows up, of course I
Yeah.
will miss some. But my intention is to drive the whole season. It always is.
Any tracks coming up that you're excited about? Anything like Suzuka, which everyone loves because Suzuka's cool.
Yeah, Suzuka was one of the best tracks for me last year. It was then I found some pace, even because it was very bad weather then. But I had a good pace in that race, so from there it has gone quite good, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we will hope that Suzuka brings some poor weather, because those are the conditions which JJ's good in. We might as well get him out of the way whilst he's not here. But either way, I feel tonight a return for Formula Challenge has been fairly decent. There's obviously been those mistakes and stuff that we'd like to move out of the way, but you got to remember it is the bottom tier of the career ladder, and I think it's been a successful return, don't you, Kirky?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that certainly it's not done any harm to Formula Challenge's reputation, this broadcast, and you can only hope that people see the good racing which has gone on this evening overall, of course, and look to replicate it as we head towards the end of the season and into the next season and future seasons as well. What we're basically saying is we just want it to be clean. It produces better racing overall, so keep it up, guys.
Yeah, not long to go in this championship. And if we quickly bring up the old championship standings, you can see it is James Johnson who is leading by 61 points over Stefan Ruwalt, who's leading over Jonathan Holmes, who will probably never move from third position as long as his life continues. Terence Grex in fourth position, Jeffrey Fournier in fifth, Matthew Churgwin is in sixth. And as I said, he was going to jump Carlos Fernandez, only by a couple of points though. Is Churgwin. But there, Carlos Fernandez in seventh position, Cameron Brewster in eighth, Johan Lindberg in ninth, and Mike Quint rounding out that top 10. What is to come for the rest of these drivers in this championship? Who's going to move up in the championship? How many points is Ruwalt going to be able to take out of that lead in the next round with James Johnson's absence? I have absolutely no idea, but we are going to find out in a couple of weeks' time. So join us for Suzuka, and until then, goodbye.